Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope I didn't have you panicking there. Couple of seconds late connecting to the network, but we are here. We are live, and I'm coming to you from the heartland of the Smartland. Or is it the Smartland in the heartland? It's Glasgow, Scotland, and this is the Kev Baker Show. Hope you're all looking forward to another action-packed, info-filled 2 hours of woo ahead of you right here on the number one abnormal show on not just this network but any network out there, because we are in a genre of our own. Yes, indeed. And to help me navigate through the madness, I have my reliable co-host riding shotgun here. Jimmy Jeans is with me to hang out again. Yes, lulling or whiling the hours away. Jimmy, how you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic, Kev. I'll tell you that.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
You know what? I couldn't be better.
I see. This is what I like to hear. This is what I like to hear. You're not going to stir crazy yet, I hope.
Well, no, I'm not really. Honestly, I'm really not doing anything that I don't normally do. It's just the thought that I can't do something that I normally do that makes me get uptight. But I mean, if I just went, you know what I mean? It's just if I went through my day, I probably wouldn't care too much about not going anywhere, because I really mostly I don't. I mean, I live, in a nice mountain town, and the property's nice. You can go out on the deck and sit back, and so I mean, I have everything I need right here, and so I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be here. I'm feeling good, and I'm stoked about tonight and the show. And thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, quite an interesting one, because last night when I got off of our main show, I was starting to wind down. I have my nightly ritual, the ceremonial playing of the Scrabble with my mum. And I won last night. I think I did anyway. If not, she'll remind me later on. But just when I came off that, usually that helps me to wind down, start to get ready about getting my rest. And just happened to have a look on YouTube at the time. And Richard Dolan, somebody who I've followed for a long, long time, somebody really at the forefront of any kind of disclosure kind of movement or any disclosure that's taking place. He's one of the more reliable people that I go to anyway. But I noticed he was speaking to a physicist called Travis Taylor. Now, for anyone out there who hasn't heard of that name, or it's not familiar with you, he's turned up on Oak Island. He's also been a big part of the Tesla files as well. And he is somebody that works for the Department of Defense. For his day job, he comes in and he provides scientific solutions. In a way, I think of him almost as a modern-day Doc Miller. Well, they were having a conversation about a new show that's going to be taking place, and I believe the first episode is out in the US now, on the History Channel, and it centres around somewhere that really I'm not deeply familiar with. I think anyone that moves around in the circles we do here, looking at alternative information and looking into the woo, we've all heard of Skinwalker Ranch, right? Well, they were getting into this new show that's coming out, Jimmy, and Travis is a part of that. And obviously they weren't giving too much away, but they're trying to have a scientific approach to explain some of the phenomena that has been reported there over the years, and some of the things that's still going on there now. And what really stood out was the fact that Travis was talking about, and he wouldn't go into too much depth, but time slips, lost time anomalies, and the way that time passes in the ranch is different, or appears to be different from the way time passes elsewhere on the planet. So it got me thinking about time, but Skinwalker Ranch, Jimmy, I mean, what does that bring to your mind when you hear that kind of that location?
Well, I mean, over the years, there's been a lot of detailed experiential information that's come out from people that have visited the ranch. So there's a lot of first-person sort of testimony, surrounding the ranch. I mean, so there's the ranch, and there's what goes on there and what's been reported there, but there's also the idea that it's not the only place like that in the area and around the whole West Coast. There's quite a few of these energy sort of portals, like for example, Mount Shasta is another area where there seems to be a lot of anomalistic time warps and weird, activity. Maybe even some tall whites coming up out of the
Yeah, it seems to be that in these locations that there is almost the full gambit of paranormal activity. You've got everything from cattle mutilations to full contactees to regular sightings of unidentified craft. You've got paranormal activity going on more frequently than you do in your ordinary, normal, everyday places. And it's almost as if whatever's going on in Skinwalker Ranch, and like you say, there's other places as well, it's obviously, or it's starting to seem like anyway, that the boundaries between our world and whatever worlds are around us, whether they're laid on top of us or just in a different frequency of ours, these places seem to be almost crossing points, right? Nexus points even.
Yeah. Maybe these are places where there's a warp in the magnetic field for whatever reason. In that place, there's this...
Yeah, and I suppose you would say, if you're in one of these places and you're talking about the boundary between our dimension and some other dimension, does time hold true in another dimension? Wouldn't time flowing differently in one of these locations really add kind of some credence to the fact that there is something interdimensional going on, and maybe you are starting to bleed into another realm and another time? And it was Albert Einstein that said time is an illusion. And in many ways, you can think of it that way, at least the way we perceive it can be, because we all uniquely perceive time differently. 2 hours this show's on for. Some of our most avid, biggest fans of the show, that time will fly by. People who hate Kev Baker, it will absolutely drag in. But, scientifically speaking, the same amount of time has passed for everyone during that 2 hour window of time. And I don't know about you, but when I was young, and I'm sure a lot of you out there, I'm sure most people have wondered, Jimmy, just what time actually is. Where does it come from? Does it hold true if you go to other planets that go around other suns and take longer? And did those people divide things into similar segments that we did? And we talk about universal time. Universal to who? To us? So yeah, time is something that I've always... And I think many people, and as we'll find out in a minute, some of the deepest thinkers of at least the cycles we know about, time, as they say, has always been on their mind, Jimmy.
Yeah. Well, we have no other course than to perceive things from a human perspective. So for example, if you see a craft in the air that you don't recognize, okay, so the human is somebody that likes to explore. The human being likes to go out on conquest and explore and come back and all this, and we can call that a value of human beings. Is this one of the things that we value, is that we like to explore and find out new things, but maybe other alien races, or even time in and of itself, is based on light and dark and how many hours are in the day, but that's only applicable to the Earth and the cycles of the... You know what I mean?
That's where it starts getting weird, right? And then it gets even weirder when you start to take into account the James Webb telescope that's going to be getting fired into orbit around the sun next year, I believe. And it's going to be looking 13.5 billion years backwards in time. And the number that they put on the universe, the age of it, so they say, or at least so they've calculated, is 13.7 billion years old. So we're literally going to be getting a snapshot of what the early universe looked like, Jimmy. And of course, until the Big Bang or whatever got this all going, came into being, there was no time. For time and space are connected, right? It's space-time. So what came before time?
Well, everything's based on 365 days in a year.
Jimmy's thinking, I don't know what came before time. Give me something easier here, Kev, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, based on 365 days in a year, right? And they're basing a year of at the speed of light is a light year. But is a light year really a light year in a course of the universe? I mean, as far as in the sense of the universe, is it 365 days? I don't know.
A light, but the light year is like, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but
So
light year is more.
If you went for a year at the speed of light, how far you would get?
Yeah, it's a
right?
distance. You know, it's us that put the thing on it. But I get where you're going. I get where you're going. But if we look at time, right, before Jimmy drags me into some weeds that I can't get out of because my brain will trip up.
It won't take light years to go from point A to point B because there's no time. That measurement is a humanistic idea. It has.
There
I mean,
you go,
as far
then.
as you're.
There you go
yes.
then. So let's take a look back at what the ancients had to say about time before we take a look at some of the weirder quirks and anomalies that happen to us in our time. And when it comes to time, there's so many ways we're going to approach this tonight. We've got stuff about deja vu. We've got stuff about time slips, time anomalies. We have got stuff about time travel. And if our good friend Mammoth is out there, she is going to love this. And a lot of the ladies will love this because we're going to be talking about time travel from an Outlander Scottish perspective. Yes,
Sweet.
indeed. All the ladies seem to love that show, Jimmy. I'm thinking it might be something to do with the fact, though, you know, big handsome men running around in kilts. I don't know.
I know. Well, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and it just goes to show that real women appreciate real men. So,
there you go.
Vice versa.
There you go. So let us go back in time to when men really were men, before the days of anything being woke. And the earliest recorded Western philosophy of time was expounded by the ancient Egyptian thinker Ptahhotep. Now, I've probably butchered his name. And he was around 2650 to 2600 BC, who said, "Follow your desire as long as you live, and do not perform more than is ordered. Do not lessen the time of following desire, for the wasting of time is an abomination of the spirit." And the Vedas, the earliest texts on the Indian philosophy and Hindu philosophy, dating back to the 2nd millennium BC, describe ancient Hindu cosmology in which the universe goes through repeated cycles of creation, destruction, and rebirth, with each cycle lasting 4,320,000 years. Ancient Greek philosophers, including Parmenides and Heraclitus, yes, almost said something else there that would have been very rude, wrote essays on the nature of time. Now, Jimmy, that cycle there, we often talk about the cycles here on the show, planetary cycles, cosmic cycles, and now we're getting a very definitive number there from these ancient Vedic texts. 4.32 million years. Everything goes through this creation, destruction, and rebirth. And how often do we talk about these cycles? We keep coming back to them.
It's true. I mean, and I think we're in one of those cycles right now. As a matter of fact, I mean,
It feels linear, right? Because, you know, you only ever move into the future. You can think about the past, but you can't go to the past. You can think of the future and you end up going there, right? But in reality, is it more cyclical and circular in nature, but we perceive it totally wrong? Because we only get such a small snapshot out of a cosmic cycle that goes on 4.32 million years. So the way that we even perceive what we think is time, do we even appreciate how things may work?
I think not.
I think I agree with you agreeing with me. So let's continue. The Incas, they regarded space and time as a single concept named Pacha. Plato, in the Timaeus, identified time with the period of motion of the heavenly bodies and space as that in which things come to be. Aristotle, in Book 4 of Physics, defined time as a number of changes with respect to before and after, and the place of an object as the innermost motionless boundary of that which surrounds it. Now, in Book 11 of St. Augustine's Confessions, he ruminates on the nature of time, asking, "What then is time? If no one asks me, I know. If I wish to explain it to one that asketh, I know not." Now, he goes on to comment on the difficulty of thinking about time, pointing out the inaccuracy of common speech. For but few things are there of which we speak properly. Of most things we speak improperly. Still the things intended are understood. But Augustine presented the first philosophical argument for the reality of creation against Aristotle in the context of his discussion of time, saying that knowledge of time depends on the knowledge of the movement of things, and therefore time cannot be where there are no creatures to measure it passing. So, Jimmy, does time exist somewhere where there's nobody to witness the passage of it?
No, I don't think so.
That's pretty weird, dude.
Yeah, and
Right?
I mean,
That's pretty wacky when you think about that.
It is. You know, it is. I mean, it's all. I mean, when you think about when you hear, I don't know, man. When you hear people talking about the construct, I mean, the construct is built. I mean, its foundation is built on our time frames, right?
I've always thought of time as just being like a coordinate, just somewhere that helps us navigate in between events.
Yeah, it's synchronized activity with all the world. That everybody's on the same page or on the same clock. But like you've said before, the existence of past, present, and future all existing in a single moment, like right now. Right now. So.
And what you just said in the past was the future moments before that.
Yeah,
to really confuse people.
You don't need a clock.
There you go. No. True knowledge comes when man throws away clock.
All I know is my clock is stopped at 4:20, and
wait till we get going down, right? You don't go getting into the. Okay. There you go, right?
Yeah,
in contrast to ancient Greek philosophers who believed that the universe had an infinite past with no beginning. No beginning. Always been there, Jimmy. There's part of me thinks it's always been. It's just always been, It just is.
I mean, you know what? I mean, it's almost there's almost nothing you could say about that, and I think you're right there. You're right. It's always been, and it always will be.
Yeah, we're the ones like trying to chase light back to this original source, like looking backwards with the James Webb and catching the light that hasn't caught up to us yet. 3.5. But do we really have any idea what the hell's going on? I mean, it's really impressive that shaved apes can come up with that. I get it, right? But does it really prove anything?
No, without it though, you wouldn't. Without it, you wouldn't have a reason to go to your slave jobs and make your coins. If we didn't have time, we could just all lay around and just have no idea how long we're gonna be here. You know what I mean? Kind of
You're right.
like we're the situation we're in right now.
I was gonna say that kind of rings a bell, Jimmy. What hang on. What timeline are we on? So then let's get through this ancient kind of roundup of some of the different thoughts about time. So in contrast to ancient Greek philosophers who believed that the universe had an infinite past with no beginning, medieval philosophers and theologians developed the concept of the universe having a finite past with a beginning, known as temporal finitism. Now, the Christian philosopher John Philoponus, yep, I think that's it, presented early arguments adopted by later Christian philosophers and theologians of the form, quote, or argument from the impossibility of the existence of an actual infinite, which states, and if your head's starting to spin right now, so's mine, an actual infinite cannot exist. If something's infinite, Jimmy, why can't it exist?
Because it just is.
Well,
there's no reason. There's no reason for it to be infinite. It doesn't need to be defined.
Okay then. An infinite temporal regress of events is an actual infinite. And an infinite temporal regress is something that Doctor Who uses. And events cannot exist. That's deep, dude. That's deep. Pretty deep. I've no idea what half of that means. But anyway, in the early 11th century, the Muslim physicist Ibn al-Haytham discussed the space perception and its epistemological implications. How the heck can I get a word like that first time? And I can't even say
that
things
should be
like
the secret word of the day.
Epistemological, yes. Implications in his book, Book of Optics. Now, that was wrote in 1021. Now, he also rejected Aristotle's definition of topos by way of geometric demonstrations and defined place as a mathematical spatial extension. His experimental proof of the intromission model of vision led to changes in the understanding of the visual perception of space, contrary to the previous emission theory of vision supported by Euclid and Ptolemy. In tying the visual perception of space to prior bodily experience, Al-Hasan unequivocally rejected the intuitiveness of spatial perception and therefore the autonomy of vision. Without tangible notions of distance and size for correlation, sight can tell us next to nothing about such things. And whether it's time or the world that we think is reality all around us, in the end of the day, never ever lose sight of the fact that all of it, absolutely all of it, only ever exists in our heads. What we think is reality around us is merely photons being converted into electrical signals and then played back on a cinema that flips everything upside down and back the right way in the inner of our head. And time, what is time if we all perceive it differently, I ask you?
Well,
It's a strange, strange world that we live in, Jimmy, and I'll leave the listeners to ponder that. I would say we'll be back in 3 minutes, but what the hell's 3 minutes? 3 minutes for you is different than 3 minutes for me, so let me just say, after the next series of events, myself and Jimmy, we will be right back with the rest of the show, and later on we want to hear more from you, and we want to hear all about Deja Vu. Now, I didn't mean that to rhyme, dude, but that was pretty dang good.
That was good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to say.
Yes, indeed. Bit deep tonight, bit different. Now we're going to
I'll
get
give you
into
a
some
slow
really cool stuff for everyone when we come back after the break. We're going to start getting into some of the numbers stuff that's going on. And a big shout out to Shannon as well. Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, you got loads of really weird time woo to get into. We've got numbers, Jimmy, right? To do with time. We've got Deja Vu, obviously one of the... You've got to talk about Deja Vu. And like I say, we've got hairy, hunky Scotsman time traveling through stones that I've had my hand on. Magic stones, Jimmy. Yeah, I've had my hands on the magic stones. There you go.
I know. You know what? If there's one thing I've definitely heard about Kev Baker, it's that he's got the stones.
Now listen, when we come back, listen. When we come back after the break, we're gonna take a call. We're gonna take a call when we come back after the break because we've got somebody over in Switzerland that's calling in, dude.
Sweet.
Dang, dude. And you don't...
Nice.
Oh, no, they've hung up. The Switzerland caller has hung up. Now, we've got Grammy. We've got Grammy on the line out there, yes. And we'll get to Granny as we... I'll go over one quick one when we come back. Because I know some people out there are absolutely going to get what I'm talking about. Because some of the weirdness with the numbers surrounding time. I don't know, Jimmy, have you ever had any of these repeating kind of times? You wake up at a certain time of night, or you happen to look at a clock, and it always happens to be that time. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, every time I look at this clock right here, it's 4:20.
Apart from that,
no, 11:11 was always one that I noticed.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big one with people, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, you know, just based on our human nature, when we learn about certain numbers, we keep an eye out for them. So we're always scanning like 33 or
now remember, you keep all that good stuff for when we come back after the break. But any streams of yours coming up, Jimbo, on your channel? Let people know where they can find it.
Yeah, tonight we're actually going to be doing a special broadcast on my channel, Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean. I'm in the chat room, so it's the same channel as that, and it's going to be Epic Journeyman and myself. And you know, we took a cue from the Kev Baker show, and you know how you guys always look at the Economist cover for the year, and you know, try to decode it. Well, Epic and myself noticed an anomaly about what's going on right now and what went on with the cover of the 2017 Economist.
Yeah,
so
Epic. I think it was Epic had super chatted about that, or and I think Nano had seen that in the chat, and we'd brought up that 2017 cover. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to hear but that's the good thing about the Economist, dude. Everyone's got a different kind of eye for looking at things. It's a bit like time, right? We all experience it differently depending on our grounding, our pre-built up knowledge that we have stored away in our cranial drives. Oh, cranial drive! I might patent that name, copyright that name.
We are on a wild ride through the universe, man.
Here we go, dude.
Here we go.
Hold on to the hour's hand. We're about to slip into warp speed. Here we go.
It's 4:20.
Welcome back. I hope you were holding on tight there as we went through the time stream, and we are back on the Kev Baker Show on TFRlive.com. And we have taken a tumble down the time rabbit hole. It's something, like I was saying in the first part of the show, that's always intrigued me. From time to time, you end up having deep and meaningful conversations, and time is one of the topics that everyone usually has a lot to say about, but we still can't put our finger on why it acts so weird, some of the weirdness around time. And much like everything that's going on right now, it's one thing that we do all experience together, albeit we perceive that exact same time period differently. It's a weird and wacky simulation that we're in. And one of the things to do with time that I experienced personally in the build up to 2012, and I don't know if 2012 had anything to do with it, but that was going on at the time. And I used to get these timestamps or repetitive timestamps, and I would always see the same thing. I would always see 1111, and I would always see 333. Now, it was beyond the realms of just coincidence, Jimmy. It really was, because you would talk about sometimes maybe 3-4 nights on the trot waking up at that time. Now, are you waking yourself up subconsciously to fulfill some kind of weird time prophecy that you're playing out with yourself? I don't know. Or is it... And I used to think about it this way. And I've not come across anything to rubbish this thought, but it's only a thought. I don't know how it would work. I almost used to think it was like the universe giving you a nudge. Almost like telling you, you know, if something was going on in your life at that time, maybe. I don't know. Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. But you've had these kind of repeating timestamps as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, a long time ago, people brought up 1111, and after I saw a bunch of stuff about that, I personally started to notice it all the time. Like it would just happen to be 1111 or whatever, when I did something.
You see,
Same thing with
that's the thing though, Jimmy, right? So it's like when you're listening to EVPs or backwards speech. If I listen to something myself, 9 times out of 10, I'll be honest with you, bro, I don't hear. I hear something, but I never hear But it's only when I've been told. Once it's suggested to me, and I wonder myself if the time thing is like that. Once you find out about it, do you start noticing it more? Like when your friend buys a new car, you've never heard of that damn car before, and then all of a sudden, like every third car is one of those cars. Is it one of those ones?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, because just our human nature is to see patterns, and so when we hear about these numbers, then we start seeing them. 33. 33 is an important number. Well, it is an important number, right? 33 and a third is exactly a third of whatever of
33,
the circle. Right?
Number of vertebrae in the spine. The age when Jesus was crucified. The Masonic 33. It's a real big number, dude.
It is, and so is 322. So I mean, and like I was saying earlier, my clock here is always at 4:20, and so my time stands still right here, right now. I mean, the concept of time
stands still for no man but Jimmy. I like
it's
that.
standing still. Well, I think it's. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I've got a little story that I found today when I went down the temporal rabbit hole. And I don't know, really getting a buzz for diving in and looking for weird stories and things we haven't talked about before. Getting the buzz back for that. So that can only be good things for the show. But this one here, repeating clock numbers. It comes from a year ago, this actual article. Well, just at the end of last year, sorry. It says, about 40 years ago, my mother commented, asked, my thoughts about the phenomena of having 3 of the same numbers appear on the clock, seemingly every time she looked at it. She described an uncanny jolt at each sighting, especially once she noticed how often it seemed to happen. Now, ashamedly, I admit mumbling something impassive with a shrugging hint that perhaps we could change the subject. I had no idea why this business with the clock had so ignited her imagination, and of course, that was before it started happening to me. And there you go, Jimmy. This person had absolutely no idea about any of these things, these repeating numbers, and now her mum's put it in there, and I'm imagining, what's going to happen next, don't you? So after about the 5th or 6th time of observing this clock event, it seemed as though every time I glanced at the clock, It was reading 111 or 222 or 333, etc. It happened so often that I just couldn't ignore it. Indeed, getting to a point where I was even expecting it. Then one day, inexplicably, it just stopped. Every once in a while, a friend or a client would describe this clock sequencing happening to them, and naturally, because I'm a spiritual advisor, they hoped to garner some wisdom into the mystery. Now, annoyingly, there was little I could offer other than a few of my personal and rather inane ponderings. Now it's happening to me again. As soon as I started noticing it a few weeks ago, I wondered how many times it's happened to me since my mother first described it. I deeply regret not having paid closer attention to what was going on in my mother's life at that time. I know she had become more actively involved in spiritualism, and was meeting weekly with a spiritual group about which she was enamored. Now, other than this, I can't recall anything notably out of the ordinary in her life, nor do I remember what was taking place in my life when it happened to me in the past. So, like any phenomenon, there are several theories to explain this experience, but none of them feel like a fit for me. Doreen Virtue describes the clock phenomena as messages from the angels, and the angels, according to Dr. Virtue, are telling us we're on the right path for our soul to manifest its special spiritual purpose. Although I cozy up to this comforting and positive interpretation, it fails to strike an accurate chord. Now, like a dream interpreted correctly, I like to feel a click that a true explanation has been revealed. For example, what if observing these numbers in sync often is more of a warning than an affirmation? I still have more questions than answers. What ifs, maybes, and ponderings abound. When I notice these numbers on my clock, I am abruptly at attention. I am noticing the time, not simply glancing at it. What is gripping my attention most acutely is the numbers themselves. I consider the meaning of the numbers individually and what their sum might mean. And when it happens to you, you'll find yourself unable to ignore it. It will set you off on a path of contemplation, concern, and possibly even alarm. Like seeing an apparition, UFO, or rare beast, your mind scrambles to make sense of it. You know when you're receiving a message, but what the heck is it? And perhaps that's the whole point. And at least once a day, I glance at the clock to find myself staring at all the same numbers lined up like ducks in a row. 3 1s, 3 2s, 3 3s, etc. And my 65th birthday is the 21st of this month. It's a number that has some weight to it. Although we like to say that we have no attachment to the number we've achieved, the truth is that when you hit one of those, i.e. 40, 50, 65, and I dare you contemplate it, 80 numbers, it does carry a zing. What's exciting is that I finally have the benefit of a clue to this clock oddity meaning. The last time I wrote about this digital clock phenomenon was just before my 60th birthday. Now obviously, this was the last time I noticed this phenomenon enough to want to write about it. It presages change. Maybe it's simply a way to get us to pay attention to time in a way we were failing to do. Like staring through a fog, I wonder what forms will emerge and whether they will be friend or foe. I promised myself that this time I will pay close attention and record what happens now. And the overarching feeling, turning 65, is amazement. Grateful for the depth of love I swim in every day of my life. My work has deep meaning, my relationships are richly rewarding, and my health is vibrant. What more can a girl of 65 ask for? So yeah. And I wonder, in reading this story, have I started a series of events that's going to end up with listeners who had no idea about this thing? Going to be emailing me saying, Baker, what have you done to me? All I keep saying now is 3 1s, 3 2s, 3 3s. What do you make of it all, Jimbo, after that?
I don't know. I feel like I'm time warped. When you got to the end of that thing there, I just forgot. I forgot where I was for a minute. I wasn't sure I was even on the air, but I'm glad to be here, Kev. I think I time warped into the wormhole while you were reading that article. I started to drift off into inner space and think about it. Think about the concept that you brought up before the break about this time concept. Maybe the Big Bang wasn't the beginning. Maybe the Big Bang was the end and the beginning at the same time. And maybe that's where we're headed. The Big Bang is where when we circle back around.
Could well be, dude. It could well be.
don't know.
Everything is cyclical. And everything repeats, right? Even if we're not aware of it. And then sometimes, just sometimes, the universe, this quirky little simulation that we're in, it glitches. And we catch it out. And we do get little glimpses of things that are familiar, but it's just so weird that we call them deja vu. And what the hell is that all about?
Have you ever stopped? Deja vu is incredible, man. And I'm glad we're going to talk about that. But I wanted to ask you before we got there, because we're on time. Have you ever stopped time or tried to stop it? Have you ever like had to be somewhere and there just wasn't enough time, but somehow you made it there on time? I mean, have you ever tried to will time?
I know. I've been aware that I'm going to be late for somewhere, but I would be lying. I think if I said I'd actually like tried to affect time so I could get there on time, in time, out of time.
A couple of times.
Many times.
Many times I have been going from point A to point B and had that very exact same thing happen, and that's why I was asking the question. But I mean, I wasn't trying to make it happen.
No, yeah,
but
I know
somehow,
what you mean.
Yeah, but somehow there's like this maybe shaman and other people of religious belief systems that can achieve certain aesthetic or a static state. Maybe they can experience that.
I wouldn't be surprised, if people in deep meditation may experience time differently, stuff like that. But you were telling me about your deja vu that you sometimes have, and it ties in with the show we done on the dreams.
Yeah.
Tell the listeners what you were telling me, man. This is listen to this, folks. This is kind of fascinating. This is weird. This is trippy. It's Jimmy G's.
Well, yeah. So it's So what I was talking about yesterday was that I didn't really have any, dreams that are, they're more, like a movie style.
More the kind of thing you'll save for that doctor-client relationship on the couch someday somewhere.
Well, so these dreams go on for periods of time. So it may be a period of a year or whatever. I'll be having these dreams, and every time I have a dream, I'm in a situation, but the situation is happening in a place that's the same every time. So it's this place, and then so I have sense of deja vu along the way, and then somehow I end up in that very place. Not that I even knew the name of it, but somehow I ended up in a place that looks just like the place that I was dreaming about in the past. So that's kind of what we were talking about earlier.
It's almost, it's like dream deja vu. That's like precog dreaming, dude. I think it's a bit more special than just a deja vu. And for me, the deja vu is one of the weirdest phenomena that just can't be explained satisfactorily for me.
You know what I noticed with deja vus? because I've always been aware of them my whole life. I mean, I've always had flashes and stuff. I've always had this intuition, you know, like a couple of seconds before something happens for whatever reason. I mean, I'm not saying I know it. I'm not saying I have any control over it, but for whatever reason.
Matt, I think we're all able to do that, Jimmy. I just think some of us are more aware of it than others do. So, you know, people need to understand this is the show where way out there things are the normal. You don't have to kind of dress it up and that. I get that. I think we've all got these abilities, Jimmy. I really do. You know, the full gambit of them. That's why some people are clairvoyant. Some people can remote view. If we were to harness the full potential of our brains, oh, whoa, dang, dude. You know, I don't know if we could even handle that because all of the above, you know, everything I think would be possible. I think in one of the other cycles, we were almost telepathic, telekinetic. We were moving things with our mind. And somehow over the cycles, we've lost that, Jimmy, you know? Over time.
What exactly? Well, you know, what I noticed, and maybe this will help others. I mean, this is something that I've noticed over the years. It's actually, you have to practice at it. It's not something you can just do, and if you can, you more power to you. But what I noticed is that over the years, when I'm having a deja vu, when I really focus my mind's eye on it and try to see exactly what the future is going to hold because of the deja vu, because there's some kind of jolt and you know, and I'm noticing it. But I notice the minute I look at it with my mind's eye full on, it disappears. So the longer you can keep from looking at it with like both of your eyes, you got to look at it with one eye.
It's hard because the minute you recognize it, it's like the observer. You start to observe the deja vu and it collapses it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's an interesting subject, man. You know, I've tried to.
Oh, you know, it's fascinating. It's one of my favorite topics. From time travel to deja vu to time slips and anomalies and science, you know, they're asking the question about deja vu. I found a quick article that we'll go over here before we get to the break, and it comes from Scientific American, no less, and it's all about deja vu. So it says here, can science explain deja vu? Most of us have experienced deja vu, that sensation when new events feel eerily familiar. Could this glitch in the matrix be a brain short circuit? So, wait, have I been here before? Have we stood in this exact spot? And as you said these same exact words to me at some point in the past, haven't I seen this very cat pass by this very alleyway or hallway already? Sometimes as we experience a new event or place, we get that creepy feeling that it's not the first time. We call that sensation déjà vu, a French phrase which means already seen. But what is déjà vu, and can science explain why it happens? So some think déjà vu is a sign that you're recalling an experience from a past life. Spooky. Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity in the Matrix trilogy tells us, and Keanu as Neo, that déjà vu is a glitch in the Matrix, the simulated reality that keeps humanity unaware that intelligent machines have actually taken over the world. Now that explanation is perfect for cyberpunk science fiction and not far off reality, may I say, but it doesn't give us any scientific understanding of the phenomenon. Now we associate the feeling of déjà vu with mystery and even the paranormal because of its fleeting and unusually unexpected. Now, the very things that intrigue us about deja vu are the same things that make it hard to study. But scientists have tried using tricks like hypnosis and virtual reality. Scientists have tried to effectively recreate deja vu in the lab. In a 2006 study by Leeds Memory Group, researchers would first create a memory for patients under hypnosis. Creating a memory, folks. Just think of that.
Wow.
Now, that memory was usually something simple, like playing a game or looking at a printed word in a certain colour. Then patients in the different groups were given a suggestion to either forget or remember the memory, which could later trigger the sense of deja vu when they encountered the game or word. How bizarre is that? Now, other scientists have attempted to bring on deja vu using virtual reality. One study found that participants reported experiencing deja vu when moving through the virtual reality Sims video game. Now, we've all seen the Sims game, and when one scene was purposefully created to spatially map to another. Now, for example, all of the bushes in a virtual garden were replaced with piles of trash to create a junkyard with the same layout. Now, these experiments have led scientists to suspect that deja vu is a memory phenomenon. What are you saying, Jimmy?
No, I'm just saying, whoa. I mean, that's an intense
Pretty cool,
experiment, but
Yeah.
also it could be used to gaslight you too at the same time, you know?
Of course it could. Absolutely. Now, we encounter a situation that is similar to an actual memory, but we can't fully recall that memory. So, and it's back to our brain hating disorder. It wants things to be in a pattern it recognizes. It says, so our brain recognizes the similarities between our current experience and the one in the past. And we're left with a feeling of familiarity that we can't quite place. Now, beyond this general explanation, there are dozens of theories that attempt to explain why our memories might malfunction in this way. Some say it's like a short in the circuits in our brain, leading to long versus short-term memory, so that new incoming information goes straight to long-term memory instead of making it a stop in the short-term memory bank. Others blame the renal cortex, an area of the brain that signals that something feels familiar, for somehow being triggered without the memories to back it up. Now, another theory is that deja vu is associated with false memories, memories that feel real but aren't. And this form of deja vu would be similar to the feeling when you can't differentiate between something that really happened versus a dream. However, researchers have begun to push back on this idea, and one study used functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, to scan the brains of 21 participants as they experienced a kind of lab-induced deja vu. Now, interestingly, the areas of the brain involved in memory, like the hippocampus, were not triggered as we would suspect if the feeling was linked to a false memory. Instead, the researchers found the active parts or areas of the brain were those involved in decision making. So, folks, when we are having a deja vu, it's not some disjointed memory of a similar situation that's played out before, because right there now we're hearing that scans of the brain say that deja vu doesn't even take place in the memory center. So I ask you, is it truly a glitch in the matrix? Oh, I think it is. What do you think, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think there's something going on there, you know. But recently,
going
like I would say,
on. Ooh.
well, I mean, recently I've been having these experiences where I remember, like it's a memory to me, and I'm remembering back to these situations, and I remember every single detail of it. It seems like it's real, but I can't remember if it was a dream or if it was actually something that I did. So I mean, from my perspective, looking back at it, I can't remember if it's a memory or a dream that I
Well, you
had.
see, Jimmy, this is the thing, right? When you go to bed at night and you fall asleep and you dream of flying around as a butterfly, and then you wake up the next morning, are you really dreaming? Or are you really the butterfly dreaming this?
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, and it's one that I think has been debated over the centuries for sure.
But never on the Kev Baker show. No Aristotle here. None of these Greek philosophers have graced our stage. But we have, and you're here, and that's all that matters. And we'll try and make sense of this time. After these series of events that you're all going to experience differently. Don't go anywhere. That's the main thing. Yes, 1 hour down. 1 hour to go. And I, Jimmy, need to go and get a cup of coffee. So I need to know. And I agree with you, no. Why are humans so stupid? At times we are. But also you've got to appreciate when we're building machines that we think's looking 13.5 billion years back in time and launching them into space, I think we've come quite far for a shaved ape. Just saying, Jimmy. But I'm going to go and get a coffee, right? Can I trust you? Can I trust you with a chat?
Yeah, they're super stoked about calling in about deja vu experiences.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because when we come back, I've only really got one quick thing to get into, and then we'll get to the callers.
Sweet.
And it's about time travel, the Scottish way. I'll be back in a minute,
Does
Jimbo.
It involve one of those giant swords? So I hope you guys are doing good, trying to make it through this situation. Stoked. So don't forget, while Kev's away, because he doesn't like to ask, if you can help him out, give him some support, because he lost a little bit of support there for a minute. So we're just hanging until that, until the storm clouds clear and everything clears up, and we can all take a big deep breath. I mean, I think that the binding ritual hopefully will be over soon, and we'll all be able to be released back and be free range, like we were before. And hey, who knows? Maybe you get a little bit more of appreciation for what you have. You know what I mean? I don't know. So looking forward to you guys calling in. I don't have the numbers here, but if I did, I'd tell you, just to get you ready. So maybe I'll scroll over there and see if I can find these numbers. So don't forget, tomorrow right here on the Kev Baker Show, there's going to be something going on. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, don't you sweat it. Kev's got your back. Yeah, thanks, King Sweet. You know it. That's funny. All right, so Kev's off getting coffee. He left me here with no coffee. And that's no problem, man. I got your back. So what I'm trying to do is get these numbers. I got to go over there to tfrlive.com is where you can find it. Hold on.
There we go. I am back.
All right. Hey, give me those numbers so I can shout them out. Never mind. I'm over there now.
Okay, them if you need them. But yes, I want to thank everyone for being here today. Keeping it real, keeping it KBS. I hope you're all safe out there. I hope you're all well. And yeah, tomorrow. You up for an early show tomorrow, Jimmy?
Oh, yeah, man.
We'll crack open the safe space.
Sounds good. Hey,
and then I've got a special guest tomorrow night. I have got Tony Merkel coming onto the show. Oh, it's going to be a woo fest. It is.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, get your dialing fingers ready. It's 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. In the UK, 4420.
You are bad. You're worse than me at the phone numbers.
No, well, I'm not from the UK, so I don't have the rhythm for the UK number. But anyway, it's 4420 3393 2871. That's 4420.
Straight. Hang on. Oh, here we go.
All right. There you go.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 on today's Kev Baker Show, coming to you from the Smartland within the heartland of Scotland. Yes, Smart City Glasgow is checking in. We're doing well over here. I hope you're all well wherever you are around the world in these very interesting times. And it's time that we're talking about today. And my oh my, has this been a really, really good conversation so far. It's probably exceeded what I had imagined in my mind taking place when I was putting this together today. And we've only got one more story before we get to the best part. All of you and your deja vu time woo. And if you want to be a part of the show, all you have to do is dial the following numbers. Are you ready? I can hear you all running to get your pens, your paper, open up a notepad. The numbers you need is, if you're in the US, it's 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. And if you're in the UK, it's 0044-203-393-2871. That's 0044-203-393-2871. So before we get to the callers, a quick quote about time that I found today. And it says, we all have our time machines. Some take us back. They're called memories. Some take us forward. And they're called dreams. And that's one of my favourite actors, Jeremy Irons, that says that. And it's that time travel that we're going to dip our toe into now. And I love getting various ideas about time travel from fictional sources, be it books to movies to TV shows. And it's really weird because you would think, me being who I am, being into the things I'm into, that a time travel show that's literally based on the doorstep of where I grew up, you would think I would naturally have been on the edge of my seat. No, at the door of my TARDIS, waiting for that to come on, right? But no, I've only recently started to dip my toe into the TV show called Outlander. Okay, mammoths out there in Australia, hold on. Her heart will be going all funny at this point. All the ladies will be going weak at the knees, Jimmy. We're going to take a look at time travel from the Scottish Outlander perspective. And then, of course, We're opening up all the phones for everyone out there. So are you ready to get this, Jimmy, to get this Mick time traveling under your belt?
I am cocked, locked, and ready to rock.
I really wish you would stop using that C word. It's very impolite.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Is Greta in the house? I didn't see her.
How dare you?
You deserve to be Greta there. You asked to be Greta there. You knew you'd been naughty, you see? So then, anyway, let's get to this. And I think you should start off with you've been spocked.
More Spock, less Kirk.
Yeah, you spocked. As opposed to the other one. Spock, locked and ready to go, man.
I gotcha.
Almost. I can almost do it. No, nearly. Nah, not quite. Did you count my fingers there? I've got 6, dude. That's like a Nephilim hand. People are rewinding things now. But listen, the rules of time travel in Outlander explained. It says here, ever since Claire Fraser first found herself catapulted out of her post-World War II life into 18th century Scotland, Outlander has drawn much of its magic from the ongoing ambiguity surrounding exactly how she got there. Aside from the fact that she travelled via the stones of Craignadoon, aka Clavacairns, the exact mechanics of Claire's journey long remained just as mysterious to viewers as they were to her. But while Outlander author Diana Gabaldon, I think that's her name, I've definitely butchered that, and showrunner Ron Moore are both smart enough not to get too bogged down in over-explaining a science fiction concept, a few key hints have emerged over the course of 4 seasons, which do give us some sense of the rulebook when it comes to century hopping. Now below, a rundown of what we know about how time travel works in Scotland. It's an Outlander, but just give me it, okay? And that there's a picture of Claire and Jamie, and they're stood before a gigantic stone. Now that's the stone I went to see when I was up in Inverness last time, and I did touch it. Now maybe we did time travel. I don't know, because things have definitely got steadily weirder since then. But it says here, what do you need to do in order to time travel in Outlander? Well, there are a couple of specific requirements. Firstly, you can't just time travel on a whim. Both the location and the timing matter. Now, Craignadoon isn't the only location where time travel is possible. The Abendoy, or the Abendaw Cave in Jamaica, and the Orca Koki Stone and Circle in North Carolina. Jimmy, you know I've triggered people with that bad pronunciation. Have both come up as alternatives. Now, as far as timing goes, travel seems to be easier at certain times of the year, seemingly as times related to the changing seasons. Now, Claire first travelled back in time just after the festival of Beltane. Oh, you mean the festival that we're kind of building up to right now? Just saying. The Gallic May Day festival, which falls between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. Now, Brianna and Roger travelled on the winter and summer solstice, respectively. Now, all right, so let's say you've got your timing and your location on lock. Not so fast. You also need to wear a precious gemstone to ensure that you make it through the centuries in one piece. Now, as Claire and Roger discovered from the reading of Gellis' account of her travels, or Galus' account, that seems to be another constant rule to get through, so you don't kill yourself. Executive producer Meryl Davis has confirmed to IGN. Now, there's a picture there of Brianna, and now I'm really wondering why I haven't watched this TV show yet. I'm going to binge it after this. So anyway, it says here, who has the ability to time travel? Well, obviously, been born on the banks of Loch Ness, it's got to be me, right, Jimmy? No, wrong. Actually, here's the unfortunate truth about time travel in Outlander. Even if you tick all of the above boxes, there's no guarantee you'll actually be able to do it. And in addition to Claire, a number of other characters have been confirmed or strongly hinted to be time travelers, including Galeth Duncan, Otter Tooth, what a brilliant name, Claire, and Jamie's daughter, Brianna Fraser, and her now husband, Roger Mackenzie. What a brilliant Highland name. Roger Mackenzie. Meanwhile, Jamie himself is not able to time travel, a fact which has prompted much of the show's most heartbreaking drama. And when Frank briefly says Jamie in the 1940s, that, according to Gabaldon, is his ghost and not his time-travelling corporal self. Now, let me stop there, because we've got calls building up, and we've got enough of what we really need to get into there. But Jimmy, this fictional story talks about a tale of time travel taking place with these magical stones, right? The stone circle in the north of Scotland. And it says that it's obviously easier for them to travel at specific times of the year, right? And in the real world, Clava Cairns is actually built in alignment to the winter solstice. So you see how they kind of mix a bit of factual stuff about the stone circle and weave it in with the fictional. And that's why I find all of this rather fascinating. But the one bit that's even more intriguing, and let me add a little personal touch to this, and I think we played it on one of the streams at one point. If not, I can dig it out again. But this fictional place, Craignadoon, as they call it there, Clava Cairns to the locals, Jimmy. Me, my brother, his girlfriend, my mum. We went back later on that night of the day where I had touched it and got my picture taken and done the touristy bit and stuff like that, right? And when we walked through there, there is something weird about time. Because in the distance, and you got, I don't know what you're doing with your audio, Jimmy, but I heard myself there. Now you go, where was I? So yeah, we were there at night, And then walking into it, it was already eerie. Nothing around it. Nothing there. And then almost like you could hear the working of stone. And all I could describe it as is if you were hearing what it must have sounded like in the past when the thing was getting built, or when there was stuff going on there, you know?
It's wild. I mean, you know, maybe there's some sort of a magnetic quality to those stones that causes this, thing to happen there. You know what I mean? Like based on the ley line function and times of the year, certain energies are present that may not be present, you know, at other times. I don't know. It's interesting, man, and the fact that you can actually go there too.
Well,
Now,
there's definitely something paranormal going on there. And again, it's almost weird because here's this TV show that's picked this location and at these stones in the fictional story, and it comes from a book, I get that, but they've got a component that allows time travel. And you'll just have to take my word for it. And I do have the video. I'm sure we've heard it before on the show where we're walking into it at night. You see me, my mum, and we've got the spirit box on at one point, but you hear a stone off in the distance. And you can tell a stone in the distance. It echoes about. It's night. Time, sound acts so weird at night time. And when you're way out in the open like that, and it's weird as well, Jimmy, because it's in like a circle of trees. It's just the bizarrest of places. So you've got the book that treats it like a time portal, and in the real world, it literally is like you can hear things in the past. That's like beyond woo, dude.
It's wild. People in the chat room are saying you should go there and do a paranormal investigation.
That's my mum just messaging. She's saying, yeah, that night at Clava was eerie for sure. And we intended to go there doing that. We took it was a crappy spirit box on a phone. But we soon left when we heard the thing with the stones. And this was the weird part. We went to hear stuff, right? And the minute we hear something, we all make excuses, go back to the car. Nobody says anything. We just drive away, and 5 minutes later, we all look at each other and go, why did we leave? We should have stayed. Because we were hearing something, you know? Weird, dude. Weird.
Do you remember the movie and the stage production called Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, I know there's a song in there called The Time Warp. And I know it's corny or whatever, but, you know, if you don't like it, I understand. But
it's corny, all right.
I never really paid attention to the lyrics in that song, and somebody was having a discussion about time, and they brought up this song, and I actually went and read the lyrics, and actually it's pretty interesting, man.
Is it like a movement to get through time, Jimmy? You take a jump to the left and then a step to the right, do you?
Yeah, and it says, he goes, I remember doing the time warp, drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the void would be calling, let's do the time warp again.
Ooh, and we are warping time here today because I tell you what, wow, we are racing towards the next break, but not before we get to some callers, so let me go now. To area code 262. You are on the Kev Baker Show. Who's this we're talking to?
I'm Ricky. I'm a super long time listener and the most lurkiest lurker you've ever had.
Oh, we love lurkers here. How you doing? So what do you think of all this time talk that we're having today?
You know, I don't know how. So I've always believed in time travel for sure, especially with the chronovisor and all this. There's just no way that it hasn't been done. But for me,
hang on. Whoa. We've just had a caller shout out my favorite device in the world. Did you just say the chronovisor?
I did.
Oh, I'm instantly in love with you. Any woman that knows her chronovisor from a flux capacitor is welcome on the Kev Baker show any day. I'm with you. No, all joking aside. All joking aside, I'm with you on the chronovisor. I definitely think that's a thing.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing for me is that I can't say like I've time traveled or anything like that. I haven't even really had any. Actually, that's not true. I had one dream where I did, but it was weird and it was not. I'm pretty sure it was just a dream. But there's been a lot of times where, like, and I'm sure a lot of people have had this. I know, like, Granny talks about it too, but where you just know something's going to happen before it happens. But, like, I'll hear a voice say it's going to happen before it happens. And so, even with, like my father died probably about 4 months ago, and about 2 weeks before he passed away, I just heard a voice say, your father's going to pass away. Just prepare yourself for it. And I've had stuff like that happen so often in my life that, like, even when I get the feeling or I hear that voice that says to do something, all the times that I haven't done it, it's like whatever that voice is knows the future,
Wow.
And so I can't figure out time travel, but that happens to me constantly. It happened to me with, like, when people were going out to buy stuff. I didn't even know the coronavirus was a thing. It was like kind of like, how it came out of nowhere for a lot of people?
Yep.
I've been listening to you guys, but I'm not like a panicker or anything. But about 2 weeks before people started buying up the stores, I heard that same like voice be like, "Hey, go get enough stuff," because I just had to move into my dad's house, so I don't have any like emergency supplies or anything. So I just went to the store and I got like enough stuff for a month before anybody had done any of it. And I texted a few friends and I said, "Hey, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I can't tell you why I know this or any of that, but this is what's going to happen." And then literally 2 weeks later, the shelves are empty.
Wow.
So,
now, that sounds like either it's you're getting messages from your future self or some kind of higher self messaging. Jimmy, what do you make of this? This is, I mean, you get strong feelings in your dreams of future events, but this voice thing, I mean, it's obviously something that's got the listeners back. It's looking after her.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was feeling with what we were talking about with the time warp when it seemed like time slowed down. It's interesting that maybe forces beyond our realm of physics giving us a hand in situations like a guardian angel type of thing, maybe.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird. But there was one other thing. I don't necessarily know how much I know about, like, us being able to time travel physically with the constraints and stuff. Like, I believe that, like, spiritually you could probably figure it out if you do enough stuff to make it happen. But one thing I do believe in is dimensional travel. And I actually had an experience with that, but that's not time travel, so I don't know if you want to hear about that.
No, that's still good. No, we want to hear about that. Oh, absolutely. If you would like to share it, of course.
Sure, it was strange. So, and it was very weird. The weirdest part to me is always that stuff feels really common. But, like, when it happens, it's the same thing as going to get some tea or, like, going to the store. It's, like, really like, "Hey, Ricky, your dad's going to die in 2 weeks. Like, just letting you know you need to be prepared for this." And then it goes on about it, But this particular thing was very common, but in an odd way. I was taking a nap, and I wake up, and I'm physically awake. And, like, I know there's lucid dreaming, and I've considered that to be a possibility, so don't, like, quote me on any of this. But I wake up, and I look down the hall, and I'm still me in my body, but I'm in a different house. And it's very familiar to me, but I've never been in that house before. And my husband is there, right, with me in this house, but it's not the house that I was in when I, like, wake up. But then in a moment, without even blinking my eyes, it felt like I was back in my, like, house. And it was as if I was...
Let me ask you a question.
Talk about, yeah.
Let me ask you a question now. When you're experiencing this, do you actually know it's you in your body? Like, do you see yourself, or are you looking through your eyes and just assuming that it's you, your body or the way that you look now?
I guess it has to be an assumption because I am looking through my eyes. But you know what it's like? It's like the Russian doll thing, right? Where, like, if their realities are stacked on top of each other, that I would be the same me in the same spot, but, like, somehow that veil has thinned. and so I can see like what's going on in other places. And so I've had a few experiences like that.
That's how I think about dimensions and timelines. That they're kind of stacked. I used to tell Joe Joseph, I think, of it like pages in a book, you know, just one on top of the other, and the ones that are directly above and the ones that are directly below. Then we're more aware of those ones, and sometimes we get a little bit of bleeding through, you know. And then who honestly knows what's at the end of the book and what's at the start of the book if we're in the middle of it, you know?
Well, that's one of the hardest things too, is to be able to recognize yourself in dreaming. So if you're trying to be a lucid dreamer or trying to practice the art of lucid dreaming, you're supposed to start by trying to see your hand, like to make yourself in a dream, see your hand and then see your arm and then see yourself. Because I've had that same idea when you were talking about that. It reminded me of something that happened to me, because I started to wonder if I looked like myself in my dream. In other words, I feel like myself, I think I'm myself, but I don't actually see myself. So are people seeing me as I am now in this dimension right now? Or are they seeing me,
well,
you know, how I was 20 years ago?
Let me put it another way then. If you were in somebody else's body, do you think that might be a dream of a past life then?
I don't know, man. It's just so intriguing, and this is such an intriguing call.
It really is. Yeah. Any other stuff you want to throw?
And speaking of, Kev.
Yeah, on you go.
There's one other thing, and like I don't want to bring it up because I know it's like a sore thing with the YouTube thing. But I have to bring it up because it is kind of relevant. Okay. In that, like, I've never had any inclination to call before, but like I just felt like I needed to. It was the voice. But anyway, so about 2 days, me and my husband have kind of stopped going to a traditional church for like 1,000 different reasons that are not relevant here. But one of the things that we were thinking about was, okay, and this is before Monday is when your stuff happened. This was probably Saturday. And I was talking to my husband, I said, you know, because we believe in tithing and giving to people. And so I said, you know, we got to figure out what we're going to do, because I still believe in that. And so I want to give, but I can't give to these churches and other organizations where I don't really believe in the way that the leaders are spending the money. And so my husband goes, well, why don't we give it to the Kev Baker Show? Because all we do is listen to them all day. And I'm like, you're not wrong. And so, you know, we're mulling it around in our head, and then it happens to you on Monday. And I'm like, okay, that's my sign. So, like, I'm telling you, it can't just be me. But a ton of other callers and other people, like, that's not a me thing in my head that I'm making up. No, you know? No, that's definitely just a sign. So that's something that I just wanted to share. Like, no pressure. We don't have to go any further into that. But I wanted to share that because it was something that did come to my husband's heart, which is just crazy to me.
You know, last week when we done the weekend shows, I must admit, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was looking at the channel and thinking, you know, things are going too well. As in, like, whenever things seem to be going too well, you always know there's a hurdle or a pitfall coming up. And now that I think about it with hindsight, you know, maybe I was tapping into the Monday events as well. But listen, I can't thank you enough for phoning tonight. I had no idea that we were going to get with our first call something so on point and something just so relevant. And I'm sure, you know, the listeners out there, they really appreciate it when anyone calls in. But this has been brilliant. Thanks for sharing this with us. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic.
No problem. You have a super good day, you guys. Thanks for everything you do.
Oh, thank you. And you stay safe, okay?
We will. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Now, we're going to be going to the break in a moment, and then we'll be going to the UK. And we've got another caller on the line as well. But, wow, Jimmy, you know, I could have gone through endless websites today, brought stories from here, there, everywhere, but nothing quite like when you hear it from real people. I say it time and time again, but the listeners and the callers just blow my mind.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about your block party that you throw every day right here, that we can all come together and sit around with our whatever we're drinking and have a discussion, you know, whether it's in the chat room or whether you call right in. You know, here's the place to do it. And Kev, you're such a gracious host, and you know, you provide fluffy pillows and couches for everybody.
I just find people so interesting, dude. I love hearing about other people's stories. You know, I love hearing about other people's experiences. It's that's how you grow. That's how you learn. You know, you look at things from somebody else's perspective. You hear their first-hand account of things, and even if it's something that you've never really experienced, you can almost feel it. You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm saying. And I know what you're saying. There's the music. Stop waffling, Kev. I'll be back on the other side. I don't know how much time will pass for you. They say 3 minutes on the clock, but tell me, was it a fast 3 minutes or a slow 3 minutes? We'll be back on the other side, and maybe we've already done this before. Yes, indeedy, ladies and gentlemen. What a caller. Wow.
Nice. Yeah, that was great.
Dude, I tell you what, man.
Fantastic.
That's better than any deep throat. I'm calling from Area 51 here, Jimmy. That's better. A real person, you know. And that thing with that voice, whatever that voice is, you know, if you're somebody that's Christian, you're going to think that's a guardian angel. If you're somebody that's maybe agnostic or into science, universe, maybe, you know, something like that. But whatever it is, it's very real, Jimmy. Whatever label people want to put on it. You know, I don't think it matters what you believe in for these messages, these prompts, these maybe almost messages from our future selves to come through.
Yes. Messages from our future selves, Kev, is a dynamite way to put it.
Do you think thinking about events in the past, with everything happening all at once and probably repeating on multiple infinite levels, could thinking about a past event affect it on one of the other versions of our reality that's playing out right now in our many worlds all stacked one on the other?
Yeah, and how you remember it, does how you remember it affect the reality that you exist in?
It's like I went through it was a few months ago. In fact, a few months ago when I went through a real long period. Well, it felt long. I'd be dreaming about being in the army again. Mm-hmm. And I'd find myself thinking and remembering vividly things that I'd done back then.
Mm-hmm.
Unprompted. And I always wonder, you know, when you get something like that, is it that younger version of you living that moment again? And I've thought to myself, well, these times I'm remembering, how was I then? And I know one of the times I was really stressed. There was really big things going on in my life. And now I wonder, you know, I was thinking about whether or not I'm picking up on that emotion I had myself physically all that time ago, only a younger version, another timeline. I don't know, dude. It's weird. It's wacky.
I understand exactly what you're saying,
you know
because like I was saying
earlier, why
earlier,
remember that then instead of another time? Why is it relevant right then, and why does it... I don't know, dude. It's weird.
That's what I'm saying. I've been having these experiences recently where I'm remembering something, but I can't, because the dreams that I have are so vivid that, and if they stick with me over periods of time, you know, there's no way for me to disseminate in my own mind whether it's a real memory or a dream. And at this point, since none of it exists, there's no difference between it being something that I think I remember or that I remember that never really happened to me, that it was a dream that I had, because there is no substance to to what we're seeing in our mind's eye. You know what I mean? There's no if you bump into a wall, it's not like you feel it necessarily a lot of times. I don't know. It's an intense subject, man, and I love that fact that you brought it up. Yeah.
I'll bring it up again. Then we'll go to the phones.
Nice.
Welcome back. Final segment of today's Kev Baker show. We are getting into time. Deja vu. all the kind of time woo you can think of. And during the break there, I was sharing with Jimmy that in the not too distant past, I went through a phase of really, it felt like a period of contemplation, like thinking back, reflecting, and I was always drawn to particular times and events, and it was always kind of centered around my time in the army. And when I got to thinking deeper about, you know, what was going on at the time when these events were playing out in real time, and it was, you know, I think more than not, I could remember that I was going through some change, one in particular that really stood out, and it had really been a recurring kind of memory, not just in dreams, but in conscious waking time as well. And I was saying to Jimmy, do you think in some way when that kind of thought randomly comes to you, and we've all been there, we've all remembered something from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, just a random thing. Why have that memory over all of the other memories you've catalogued over the years? Why go to that one at that time? Is it just random? You know, either everything is a coincidence or nothing is, right? So, you know, is it that we are picking up on our emotions that we put out back then, and are we in some way entangled with that moment in time? Like a ghost, a haunting. They say a house gets haunted when something traumatic happens there, right? So if we don't pass, if we don't die during a traumatic event, do we still leave an imprint? Are we still entangled with that one moment and that thing we don't know anything about time? Is that why we get pulled back to it? It's weird, Jimmy, right? And we've got lots of calls to go to, but, you know, that's a weird one.
It is. And you know, like we were saying over the break a little bit, I want to just bring it up, is that when you're remembering something from the past and time has gone by, and you're remembering it, it's a picture in your mind, or it's an experience or emotional moment for you that you're remembering. But there really is no difference between whether it was a dream or if it's real. There's really no way to tell, because a memory is just a picture in your own mind. And I mean, I know you've talked about it before.
So it's a real event, and as we found earlier on, a memory can be something implanted in your mind.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, I mean, they're to the point now, technologically speaking. I mean, if this situation wasn't happening and we were moving happily into the future, they're almost to the point where they can get a picture out of your mind when you're having a memory.
We're going to go to the phones, but they actually took a brain scan. And what they've done with this brain scan and new machine learning was they managed to reconstruct the sentence that the person was repeating in their head. Anyway, moving to the calls, because
Fantastic.
They are filling up fast. Wow. Let's go to the United Kingdom first. And your number ends in 237. Welcome to the show. And who are we talking to?
Hi, Kev. It's Lee again. Uniquely.
How you doing, Lee? How you doing, Lee? We're talking time. What's your thoughts on it all, brother?
I've got like 4 stories which are all kind of strange. If you want me to go sequentially through them, I've had a few strange experiences in my time.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Well, regarding time, there's a good film called Narcopolis. Just to let people go and search that one out. Narcopolis. It's a good film about time travel. It basically says the human mind is the time machine. So
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Yes, I like that. Yep.
Yeah. Strange film. But yeah, talking about time and dimensions. Years ago, I used to live in a place 3 miles away from my father, and we used to share time with my father, and we used to go to his house. Now, one night I dreamt, whether I dreamt or astro traveled, but I traveled to my father's house, which is 4 miles away, and I'm bearing in mind I'm 6 years of age or 5 years of age, and the old houses used to have wooden slatted staircases. Do you remember them?
Yep, I do remember them very well. Yes, absolutely, dude. I remember it well.
Yeah, and we used to have the outside toilet, what we used to call the outhouse. Yeah, no toilet roll, kids. Wasn't allowed. Anyway, I'm going up the slats as a child, and I'm crawling up these stairs, and I get to my father's bedroom. Now, bearing in mind, I don't know how I'm doing this, but I'm in spirit. I managed to open the door, and when the door opened, I couldn't hear my father speak because it was strange. I couldn't actually hear sound. But when I got there, I opened the door, physically opened a wooden door. My father jumped out of the bed. I saw him scream something. He threw something at me, and then I vanished. 14, maybe 12 years later, we're all sat around the house, and my father's trying to test how psychic we are, because our family's, slightly psychic in strange ways, but he's testing our abilities, trying to burst balloons, predict cards, what have you. And I said to him, I went to visit you one night, and you shouted at me and threw something at the door, and his face went ashen white, and he said, was that you?
Whoa.
Apparently that night he'd had a fight. Yeah, he'd had a fight that night because my father was a bit of a hard man. He used to like fighting, being a bit of a hard knock. He had a fight that night, and someone who he beat up threatened to break into his house and do him in bed. So he had a knife under his pillow, and that's what he threw at me at the door. That's my first story. Any comments on that one?
I tell you, no, that's weird though. But I knew where you were going to go with that. I knew at some point that was going to transpire to be a real event. At least you had been there. He remembered it. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
It,
yeah, give us more. Come on, man.
All right. The second one was when I was about 4. I used to be able to astral travel, and I used to be able to do it by distorting my living room into kind of like a trapezium. I used to distort the shape of the room, and then I'd escape and fly up. And when I used to get there, it was dark. It was just a black void. And I used to ask myself this question. Now, bear in mind, I'm about 4 or 5 years of age, and I'm asking this question. When I die, is this the last thing I see? Darkness.
Dude,
the strange thing is
I'm coming to England. I want to get a pint with you once we're not prisoners in our own home again, dude.
Nice.
Damn, man. Damn, that's deep.
So I'm trying to find the light out of the darkness, and eventually I do. I go out and I start dreaming. I can dream in Technicolor, because before that it was just darkness. Now, when I met my girlfriend 10 years ago, she had exactly the same problem. She used to go up into space or whatever it was, and she would ask the same question, and she couldn't find the light. She couldn't get out of there.
So wait a minute, you randomly get together with a girl, as you do. Boys and girls do that. You have a relationship. And then you discover that you both have this in common.
Yep.
Whoa.
And not just that. It's not just that. There's something else. Now and again, I'll have dreams where my dreams and visions end up with me running through rooms, running through buildings, going upstairs. We're always running away from something. And I say we because when I explain to my girlfriend my dreams, she has the same thing. She's with someone. She doesn't know who they are, but she's running through rooms, she's running through buildings, she's going downstairs, she's going through windows, and she's with someone. But I know I'm with a girl. I know she's got brown hair, but I can never see her face. But she's with someone, and she's got brown hair.
Oh, you know you're rendering the same dream together, right?
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me, dude.
Done twice. Yeah, it is something else that might. When I've spoke to someone on a kind of connective level, and they've been in America. And they've been in somewhere in England. I think it was up by Manchester. But anyway, when I've been speaking to someone long term, I can taste things when I'm talking to them. So the two things that happened was a girl was eating chocolate while she was talking to me. I remember distinctly tasting chocolate and thinking, "Are you eating chocolate?" And she said, "Yeah." How the hell do you even know that? I don't know. I can just taste it.
You're like
the second one was in America.
That's like some kind of quantum empathic kind of quality that you're able to sync up with people or something, dude.
I don't know how I'm doing it.
No,
I don't know how I'm doing it.
I don't even know what I just said. I don't even know what that means. But it sounds like you're able to almost remotely feel or detect the senses of other people.
Are you RH negative?
Yep.
Are you RH negative?
No, not a reptilian.
Jimmy likes the RH negative stuff, yes.
No, it's not that it's a bad thing, but it's a common trait with RH negative people to be super empathic, So I was just asking, and plus you're from a place where there's a lot of blood over there that is. So, no issues.
No, you're right, dude. You are right, though. You are right. It's a good point to make because you do frequently find that blood type associated with these kind of, I would call them skills, even though we don't know what they are and how you're doing them. We can't really harness them, Lee. I still think it's pretty cool what you're doing, dude.
That's wild, man. This is a great call, Lee. Thanks so much for sharing with us. It's really actually fantastic.
Oh, I've got one more. Well, I've got two more. The second time I did that,
shove in one more, Lee, because these phone lines is as long as my arm now.
I know, it's a quick one. It's Deja Vu. Seems to talk about Deja Vu. I was with a band years ago, and we travelled to a town we'd never been before. And as we're driving down the road, we'd set up all our gear, and we went for a drink, went for a pint somewhere. And as we're going towards the pub, I remember having this vision. It was like a 5-minute sequence played in a nanosecond. And I remember saying to the fellas, "We can't go to that pub." And they're like, "Why not?" I said, "There's going to be murder in there. I don't know what it is. Let's go to the pub round the corner." And they went, "What do you mean the pub round the corner?" I said, "There's a pub round the corner. Just trust me." So don't ask me why. They all listened to me, went round the corner, found the pub, freaked them all out. They all looked at me like I was a weirdo. But only in there 5 or 10 minutes, the whole pub emptied. And the singer went to the bar and went, "What the hell's going on?" He went, "Oh, there's been a murder at the pub. The whole pub exploded. Big bar fight." And all three of them just looked at me, white, ashen face, thinking, "How do you even know that?" I was like, "I don't know. It just happened. I just had this vision that there was being murder. We couldn't go in that pub." So that's the last story I've got. And Deja Vu. I've had a few of them in my time, and that was the most vivid I can remember.
You need to go on tour of the UK. I'd come and pay money to listen to your stories, man. That is epic. Epic, dude. Honestly. I had no idea that we would get calls on this level tonight. But Lee, you're always on point, whatever you phone about. But tonight, wow, dude. Awesome, man.
Just I thought I'd share some private stuff, as you do. But anyway, have a nice night.
You too, brother. You
and
too.
I share the...
Oh. On you go, Lee. On you go. Sorry, that was me. I pressed mute. Sorry, Lee. On you go.
No, I was going to say, I'm exactly like the first caller as well. I hear the voice. I've heard the voice since I was 18 and I follow it. That's another strange thing I've got about me, but I've got a voice too.
I think the voice is almost like, and thank you, Lee, for calling on. I think the voice is almost like a really well-trained or well-tuned gut. It's almost like an extension of the gut. It's like your gut feeling. It's that gut instinct I talk about. And you've got brain cells in your gut. You've got brain cells in your heart. You know, I don't know. There's weird stuff going on, but we're going to area code 719. Welcome to the Kev Baker Show. Who are we talking to?
Hey, Kev, it's Rick from Colorado.
Oh, how you doing, my friend?
How you doing, brother?
How are you doing? Time? What time is on our side? What do you think of time, Rick?
Yeah, time. This is I really like the first caller in that, right? You have to think dimensionally, Marty, right? You know, I told you about my work with the vortex coils and how over the last 7 years I've done nothing but study the greats, right? And then about a year ago, I came to a conclusion. And at first I was like, no, it can't be like that, right? And then about 2 months later, I found out that Walter Russell saw along the same lines. And you know, if we apply Occam's razor here, right? There's hardly anything going on now that is in disagreement about. There's nothing really solid here, right? The solidities and the time is illusion. Now, doesn't it follow suit that motion is an illusion? You understand what I'm telling you? Have you ever seen like the mind's eye illusions? Right, where there's fractal pictures that if you like stare through it, kind of, and take a moment of calm, a 3D image pops out of it, right? Or paintings, right? The fractals, they're painted on a white piece of paper, and they'll look like they're moving to us.
And you think about how our mind, you think about how our mind works as well. Rick, I mean, it's literally like film running through a cinema reel, you know? It's frame after frame after frame. And you know, when you draw that stick man on like 5 different bits of paper and you gradually change the way his arms go, you flick that. And that looks like motion, but in reality, nothing's moving. It's just the way that you're playing those frames over in your mind, right?
Exactly. how we run movies, how we run computers. I would love to get on a stage and debate Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, and James Gates at the same time. I think I could destroy them, dude. These guys are not scientists. You have to understand that in this, right? I mean,
now, if you're working with Rick, if you're working with the vortex stuff, what kind of have you experienced anything weird with time when you're doing that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And every day we experience things with time, right? I mean, the old adage, time flies when we're having fun, right? How are you decoding this, right? I wish I could break like the simulation theory apart, but I can't. You know, I don't think it's like that, but I can't.
It's like I say, Rick. It's like I say, you know, the closest thing, and Jimmy said it earlier on, our brains, they crave pattern. They want familiarity. And the closest thing that we've got in our air quotes reality, bearing in mind that atoms are 99% fresh air, so even the physical world is only 1% there and 99% fresh air. You know,
Well, when we're looking
I forgot where I was going there. I was going somewhere good, and then time caught me, man.
Well, hey, listen. So a memory is some sort of an imprint that we have made in our memory. Is some sort of an imprint that we can go back to in our mind. And when we do, there's no material value to that memory. But when you sit there and remember with all your might something that happened to you when you're a child, some influential moment in time that you'll never forget, when you go back in your mind, there is no material value to that, but that experience and that dream or that remembrance of it is still just as real as it was in the moment for people.
There you go. And Rich, any final thoughts to throw out there, dude? Because I've got another couple of callers to get to here, but any final thoughts on the time?
Oh, maybe pass on something positive here for people, right? In this
nice.
I was a nuclear crew member, right? And then we can't have an all-out nuclear war, okay? Now nuclear, we can have nuclear explosions, okay? But it's geometrical. The man to look up here is Bruce Caffey. That's his name, Bruce Caffey. He was an airline pilot. He nailed it, dude. Right? So, you know, just don't be afraid out there. That's the whole big, we're like, fear porn is dished out on a daily basis from every direction, right?
Oh, absolutely, brother. So, absolutely. Now, Rick, I'm going to have to let you go because I want to get to another couple of these callers here, but you stay safe, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon, right?
Great call. Great call.
Always. Yeah, I'm glad to have a conversation that didn't include a virus word.
Good man.
Right,
good man. Love you right back. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely fantastic. Now then, let's go to area code 303. I believe that's the Denver area. I think it's Algo. Is it?
This is Algorithm, Kev Baker. Hey, Jimmy. Great show, you guys.
You like,
right on.
You look fantastic together.
You like the topic tonight, man?
Love it.
Time. What do you think of time?
I'll tell you what. I've had deja vu since my late teenage years, about 3 or 4 times a year, and it takes time to get a handle on it because it's scary at first. But there was a time I was 33 years old, and I was at work, and just before the telephone, as a retail place, just before the phone rang, I had a deja vu, and it lasted like 10 seconds, which is abnormal for me. Usually it's 1 or 2 seconds, no big deal. But at the end of it, I had a real queasy feeling in my stomach. It was a little bit startling.
Oh, that's almost as if you got too long of a deja vu, and there was almost a trade-off on the back of it, Jimmy. Like for me, I'm like the Algo. I only ever usually, and I used to get it a lot when I was younger. And later on in life, like recently, not so much deja vu. I don't know if that's a thing that people might want to think about. Did they used to get them more when they were young? And if they did, why is that? But yeah, kind of weird, Jimmy, kind of weird. 10 seconds? That's a long window of time.
Maybe you dematerialized for a second and you get kind of sick to your stomach, you know, like when you go into an ecstatic state. Like, for example, they have, I don't know if people are familiar, but there's something called the whirling dervish. And they dance around in these really rhythmic patterns. And they actually say that they stop time and space for a minute, but they get sick to their stomach from these this blinking in through the dimensions.
And algo, the brain, and for me it really is like a warm and wet and fuzzy biological quantum computer, and because it's only got that shielding of a skull, and we don't have that refrigerated effect that D-Wave have, right? The quantum effects, they don't really last long in our microtubulins. They're fleeting little quantum effects, right? So what if for 1 or 2 seconds, typically, for whatever reason, no electromagnetic field disturbs the coherence? It's as if your brain is unobserved and it goes quantum to give us deja vu, where you can see the now, the past, the future, because, well, algo, when you're quantum like that, it's all happening at once, right?
I'll tell you, it was, and I knew what everybody. There were 4 people with us. One answered the phone. I knew what every person was going to say, literally for 10 seconds, and 10 seconds sounds like a short period of time, but when you're in that state, it is a long, long time.
And that word, algo, you don't know, I've got goosebumps right now, but the end of my show was going to be geared up to that state, that quantum state, that almost superposition, that coherence, that however we manage to put it together in between our ears, sometimes it lasts longer than others. And I was building up to tell you tonight that I honestly think, because I've no way of proving this, because I'm just Kev Baker, I don't have letters after my name, but I think deja vu equals quantum superposition in the brain. You're seeing everything at once.
Does.
Yeah. You're literally...
you know what, Kev?
Does.
I think you test positive for being the quantum mechanic, because that was a brilliant synopsis. I just want to say, and I give you props for that. That was absolutely brilliant, man.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. And
hey, before I let you go,
on you go,
one
dude.
quick thing. Jimmy, I'm B negative for what it's worth. B negative blood type.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Blue eyes, left-handed.
Are you, I mean, I don't want to. You don't have to say.
Okay, listen, we're going to talk about that on our early stream tomorrow. There you go. We're going to get into that.
Okay, I'll catch you then.
Yeah, we're going to get into.
Hey, if you're hanging at home tomorrow, make sure you call in.
Absolutely. Now we need to go to the last caller.
I'll see if I can. Thanks, Kev.
Algo, I love you to
Jimmy.
bits, man. Thank you for your support, Algo. Always like to see you in the chat room, dude. Now then, we've got one last caller from the UK. Real quickly. Number ends in 353. I think it's Julian, but maybe not.
No, my name's Jared, and I'm from South Wales.
Hey, how you doing there? Nice to speak to you, Jared. Your thoughts on time?
I've been a follower from your show for a while, Kev. I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm shaking speaking to you at the moment.
Oh, don't be daft, dude.
Don't worry.
No, it's just the energy. It's a bit overpowering because we wanted to get a story out for some time. I'm actually swelling up a little bit. Let me just compose myself here a second. And for some reason, I work as a medium, right? That's kind of my job, doing like the psychic sort of stuff and the rest of it. day by day, but a lot of the stuff I do involves investigating the paranormal, and this is something that we do a lot for free. And it's a story that I've been wanting to get out for some time, involving time and seeing the future and having predictions and that sort of thing.
Whoa,
and
Jared,
I was thinking about it earlier.
Jared, hold that
Sorry.
thought, right? Because we're almost on the end of the show. And have you got have you got a pen there? I want you to take down.
I have a pen.
Okay, I want you to email TrueTube. That's
right.
TRUE.
What was that, sorry?
True, TRUE, and then Tube, TUBE.
Yep.
And then 1984, 1984.
Yeah.
At gmail.com.
Okay.
And Jared, I'll get you on one night next week if you're free, and you can come and hang with me for an hour. How does that sound?
That would be brilliant, my friend. Would it be possible, because there's two of us involved in this, would it be possible for a friend of mine to join us as well?
If you email me after the show or tomorrow, we'll get it lined up. And we're right on the end of the show right now. But Jared, don't worry, because next week...
That's amazing,
Yeah,
mate.
don't you worry
Thank
about
you.
it, brother. And I feel that energy as well. And you know, if you listen to me...
I'm actually in...
I go with my gut.
I'm in tears, literally.
Hey, dude, we're out of time. We're out of time, brother. But yeah, you know how
That's
I
right,
roll
man.
on the Kev Baker show. I go with my. Oh, we're out of time. We're out of time. Hang on.
For news and information without the hate, hype, and fear.
Yeah, you know how I roll on KBS, Jimmy. And that caller there.
Wow.
I got that gut feeling as soon as he started speaking.
Me too.
I'm like, this is one, and that's why I'm thinking, let's get a show on next week.
Yeah, because I was looking up at the clock and I was going, oh no, he's barely going to get into it. It's going to end.
You know, even Algo, usually I'd have kept Algo on till the end of the show there, but that number in the UK, I don't know. I thought it might be Julian, Lessons for Life, who's an absolutely brilliant guy. Love him to bits. Go and check him out on YouTube. Check out our other good friend, Jason. He's got all the paranormal stuff going on at First World Problems. But a medium from Wales phoning me up at the end of the show. I get the gut feeling. He wants to come on the show. He's got the gut feeling. Oh, it's going to be a good one. I know already that that's going to be a good show.
Yeah, and it's not. And what's great about it too is it's not some show pony that runs around every other alternative media showcase or whatever. It's somebody that's coming real. They're coming correct, and they're coming only exclusively on the Kev Baker.
I'm really interested to see what that story holds, because if the feeling is anything to go by, I got this feeling when Kevin McCairn emailed me randomly, and that turned into a very prosperous kind of relationship. Great information. Had a fantastic conversation with Kevin off air as well. What a highly intelligent, very polite, very nice guy. Very, very good dealings with Kevin McCairn. Quite rare on YouTube, folks. But
he's fantastic.
He's I mean, speaking to him off air as well, he's a highly intelligent, switched on man, and just a bonus, he's a really good guy as well. So yeah.
Hey, so listen,
I think my point being, that's why I remember why I brought him up. My point being, I think Jared down in Wales is going to be another one that Kev's got. I don't get a voice. My gut starts doing things, dude. And when I get the gut doing things, you got to pay attention to that one, Jimmy.
Yeah, you definitely do, man. Well, it's been a fantastic day, and I'm looking forward to joining you tomorrow during the...
yeah, we'll get into rhesus, the RH negative stuff if you want. How's that sound?
That's what I was going to tell you. The reason that I brought it up in these discussions, because if you get into some of these discussions and you put out the word... and you could get a group of RH negative people to start showing up around. I mean, there's a lot of really, there's a lot of really intense Rh negative people, man, that no one has ever even heard of. Like, I've got a woman that has done this research on Morgellons disease, dude, and nanobots, and I swear to I mean, the thing is, I've asked her to come on the air, and she's scared to. But I mean, if I could get her to come on your show, because your show's, you know, a bigger show,
I pop cherries on this show. I'm the easiest interviewer anyone could hope for, because I'm not out to trip anyone up. I'm not out to stab them in the back. If I have somebody on the show, it's because I genuinely want to get into their info, and usually 9 times out of 10, because we're all on the same frequency, we usually get on well that way. But yeah, I think
what I'll do is she's friends of mine on Facebook, and what I'll do is I'll put you in touch with who she is and all that, and then and I'll let her know. And she's got a bunch of stuff.
You keep that in the back of your mind for now, and I'm going to give a few people a shout out in the chat room before we go away. Unique Lee, absolutely brilliant call today, brother. Always a brilliant call, but very, very switched on. We've got Mammoth in there as well. We've got 888 Roger Moore. Damn, Roger Moore, he was one of the better Bonds, I'm telling you. Fiona Craig as well. She was saying about Deja Vu earlier on. Possibly a replay of what you were supposed to pay attention to the first time around. I like that idea. I really do. Before I forget,
that is brilliant.
Let me give a shout out to as well. Before I forget, I'm terrible at forgetting sometimes. Okay, while that loads up, we've still got no in the chat room. I'll go. No, brother, thank you for your time. I'll be here regardless. It means the world to me that anyone shows up, and to see all the same people all the time. Fantastic. Cassie, ZX, our mod in there. King Sweet, another mod as well. We've got Lewis, Jessica, Seed and Arrow, Connie, Rose, Algo again, Jessica. They're all loving you, Jimmy. We have got, who else? Mammoth, all the way down under. Good eye spot. We've got Old Dirts. I like that. Who else we got in there, Jimmy? Come on, man. Leslie Dickey.
Oh yeah. Hey, Leslie had mentioned, I'd seen in a chat that she had mentioned she wasn't feeling well about a few days ago. So hopefully she's feeling good, man.
Well, I hope you're feeling better, Leslie, and I hope everyone out there's feeling well. 888 Roger Moore. P.S. I'm insane. You're in the right place, Roger. Yes, indeed. I like my martini shaken and not stirred. If you're going to have Roger Moore, we need Sean Connery, right? Who else we got in there? I'm not scared. If you're watching the Kev Baker show, you're probably all right. Brilliant. And that was Lee Roar. We've got Rick Anderson in there, our good friend from Scotland. We've got Fitzy Patterson. Dang. I hope you're Scottish with a name like that. Big Fitz Patterson. What a name. I'd shite myself if somebody called Fitzy Patterson was after me. Just saying. Mo Howard. We've got Benjamin in there. Natalie, I think we've done all these before. Adam. Yes.
Hi, Natalie.
So, I'll be back tomorrow with Jimmy at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. in the UK, and that's 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. where Jimmy is on the West Coast, and that's 2 p.m. on the East Coast. No, it's, 6, 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. on the East Coast. And tomorrow night on the main show, I'm going to be joined by Tony Merkel. No, not the son of Angela, but we have got Tony Merkel from the Confessionals coming on. We're going to be getting into all things Bigfoot, all things woo, all things paranormal, all things abnormal. It's going to be a brilliant show. And before I go, let me give a thanks to Shannon as well. Big shout out to Shannon. So, Jimmy, any final thoughts?
Nothing wrong with growing your hair long. I'd say grow your hair as long as you can, Kev.
You've got a theory on that. No, my hair's looking ridiculous. One of these days,
when I come on, You just got to get past that stage.
Nah, dude. One of these days, real soon, I'm gonna come on. I'm gonna look like the dude at a taxi driver, man. I'm just gonna attack it.
You know what, dude? You should get a wig and put it on and see what you look like with long hair. I bet you'd be like a big old. You look like
The
a
beard's
massive.
coming on, man.
That's what I mean. You got the beard. All you need now is the wild Scottish hair. And you start.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Sword,
Hang about the magic stones with skirt on. Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, I'll be sorted, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly,
So
dude. Exactly.
You
I'm
gotta
actually a way to look at like him.
Why did they cut Samson's hair?
Oh, I know you've got a theory on this one. I remember my favourite footballer, Henrik Larsson, had dreadlocks, and when he shaved his hair, he was crap for 6 months until it started to grow back a bit. So there is magic power in here.
When I first got on the air with you, I decided this about hair, and I've kept growing my hair ever since. And now my hair, look how long my hair is. So I've kept it growing since I said it out on your show. So there you go.
There you go, dude. Between that and all those women out there right now picturing me in a kilt, I think it's a job well done, right? I think
I
it
would
is.
say so. I mean,
I would say so.
How dare you?
Nobody cares what you think, Greta. Absolutely nobody cares what you think. Your brain has turned to black goo, and talking of that, keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo. Oh, hang on. Jimmy's waving at people. Jimmy, go on, wave at people. You were waving.
no, I was giving the way.
Night,
Yeah.
John boy. Night, Jimmy.
Well, everybody in the chat's bummed out. They're going, "Hey, I wish it was longer." You know,
Night,
so.
Jimmy. Night. Maybe
Good night.
maybe tomorrow night will go longer. Who knows? Maybe I'll do 3 streams tomorrow. Who knows?
Who knows? Why? I mean, why the heck not? And break out those T-shirts soon, will you? Do me that favor.
Night, Jimmy. Night. Night, Jim
Good
boy.
night, Kev. Good night, Kev.
Night, Sue Ellen. Night, Kev. See? That's how we roll around here, man. We're like big happy Walton family, right? Do you think? No, the Waltons were cool, right?
Well, yeah,
that
I
was
know.
when
And
TV
now-
was TV, dude.
I know, and think about it. When you wave, when you wave to somebody, you're throwing out your energy to them. You're saying, "Hey," you know. And if you're, you got good vibes, you wave. Hey.
Anyone else thinking Jimmy really needs to listen to my outro again? Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe.